Hello and welcome to the Central Connecticut Intergroup meeting. My name is Deanna and I am an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And tonight we have a little bit of a special show. Joining us are Devin, Matt, and Eric from the NECYPAA committee. And we're going to just spend a couple of minutes kind of talking about our sobriety a little bit, and then they're going to talk to us about NECYPAA, what that is, what the committee does, and all the things about it. So again, my name is Deanna. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is April 4th, 2004. I have a sponsor. I sponsor people. I have been active in service throughout the years at the group level, district level, area level. I've sat on a lot of different committees. I've gone through the steps and traditions with my sponsor. I was born and raised in a small town, the youngest in the small family, and I think like a lot of people talk about, I've always felt like that difference, right? Always felt different, and alcohol made me not feel different. And, throughout the years, what was the solution became not the solution. By the grace of a higher power, I ended up in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and through the grace of the people that I met here, and a lot to do with service throughout the years has helped me grow and continued to have me stay. So, thank you.
Are we going to start with me?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, Devin, alcoholic.
Hi, Devin.
My sobriety date is February 18th, 2024. It's not my original sobriety date. Relapse is a part of my story. I have a sponsor. I have a service sponsor. Gone through the steps. I have brought men through the steps. I have a home group. I've had, various service commitments. Currently, among them co-chair of the NECYPAA Northeast Convention of Young People in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I guess just to give people an idea of, because it can kind of sound like nerdy, like, oh, I'm here from this organization, I'm here to tell you about how great it is. We are made up of alcoholics, right? My life was waking up, going to the package store, getting alcohol, getting something to put it in, going to work, trying to sneak it while my bosses weren't looking, going home, drinking with my significant other until 3 a.m, waking up, somehow doing it all over again for years. I had always thought that there were things that I would never do, I'll never drink and drive. Those are yes, right? Eventually, my alcoholism got so bad that it's the package stores are closed here. They're not closed in Massachusetts. I'm pretty drunk. What's an alcoholic to do? So it's funny how alcoholism can make us make me abandon, the principles that I held before coming into the program. And I guess again, they weren't because I'm powerless against alcohol. The fact that I had those principles didn't matter. I lost a marriage over alcohol. I'm lucky that I didn't lose a job and career, but it came really, really close. I lost friends over alcohol. I had busted up cars, really messed up my financial situation because I spent all the money that should go to bills on, more and more booze because, I preferred glass bottles until a couple days before my paycheck, in which case, had to settle for Dubra for a couple of days until payday hits. And then I came into the program, got involved in service, and it's helped me get from there to where I am now.
Thank you, Devin.
My name is Matt. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Matt.
So my sobriety date is December 5th of 2011. It's also not my first sobriety date. My first real one that ended up in some significant, decent sobriety was December 11th, 2006. And, I came into my first young people's meeting 24 hours sober when I was 19. And it was the Canton Young People's Meeting. And at that time, there was 50 or 60 people there, and I was hopeless and pretty lonely and didn't know what to do, and really thought my life was ending because I had to get sober. I couldn't see my life with or without alcohol or a lot of other substances at that point. It had very quickly in my life become a solution that really seemed to fix whatever was going on with me in my head, my crazy thinking. It seemed to just fix it real quick. And when I first picked up, it really immediately became a party 24 hours a day, and it was no kind of slow build up. There were no 10 or 15 years where life was just sort of regular. It was just complete insanity from day one, literally day one. And I just got sucked into the party scene and just partied all the time and did nothing and couldn't do anything less, and would go home after the parties and continue getting wasted all night long. And there was just, it was consequences very quickly. Within a few months, I had crashed my first car. A few years later, I'd crashed, a couple more, and, got involved with the police, and all kinds of other things happened. Wrecked a lot of relationships with my family and friends that led me into that young people's meeting. And that meeting really sucked me into, the possibility that I could actually be sober and be young and have an entire life ahead of me. Of recovery, and I didn't really think that was possible. My first meeting I'd gone to was with my father, and I really didn't want to be there. And I say that like it was because everybody was a lot older than me, but really I didn't have the desire to stop drinking at that point. And all I could think about was the party that was happening 3 miles away, where people were playing beer pong, and there were girls, and there were drugs, and there were everything else, and it seemed a whole lot more fun than hanging out with my dad's friends and going to bed at 9 p.m. It's just, when I was 19 years old, it was not what I had in mind. But getting involved with young people, and we're here to talk about that in general, like that really saved my life in the beginning, and it's important to me, 20 years later, getting involved with it, and being of service with young peoples and showing young people that there is an exciting and fun life that's actually way better than anything I could have imagined when I was drinking and drugging. It's an incredible thing, and it's a life that was beyond my wildest dreams when I came in. So, yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Eric, alcoholic addict.
Hey, I'm Eric.
So for me, I started drinking at 12 years old. My sober date is October 7th, 2014. I ended up joining the Army at a young age. For me, it was always a party, and, I ended up bringing that over to the military, and over there it was just like, you can pretty much just drink whenever you wanted. They had PX, which is where you could buy all the alcohol 30, 40 feet from where you lived. So we would clear out all the bottles and everything, and then get mad when they didn't have more there, and they would say, well, stop buying everything within a couple days, and, it would be fine. The basic alcoholic knowledge. So for me, all my addictions and things and my alcoholism, it was pretty obvious at an early age. Playing video games like 16 hours a day, there were all those things that were just basically waiting for that magnet of alcohol just to join and latch on to, me as a person. I absolutely believe that I was an alcoholic when I was born. Everything that I did, I had to do it right over again. So if it was one drink, it was never enough. 2 drinks, I just had to keep on going. If I watched a movie at a young age, I had to watch that movie over again right after it was done, because I needed that same feeling right away as soon as that feeling was gone. So literally, going into the military and having alcohol, I almost ruined that. I almost ruined my time there. Almost got kicked out for it. Ended up being on duty for 24-hour duty, and then he had 24 hours off. So that 24 hours off, and our heads were like, well, we have 20 hours to drink, and we have 4 hours to sleep, so we got to hurry up and do as much as we can. And that's when I got caught, and they brought me over to the MPs. I made a fool of myself in front of my entire company of like 200 soldiers. Ended up almost getting kicked out, but then it was what they call an ASAP counselor, an Army Substance Abuse Program counselor. who pretty much saved me and sent me over to a rehab which was in Landstuhl, Germany. Now it was an accelerated program. I don't recommend doing that because there should be nothing accelerated about sobriety and recovery. So for me, I went through the program, but it was like you have this much time to go through this step, this much time to go through this step. There was a gentleman there that really, I believe that was a higher power moment when that person was the only one who could really, get me sober. And, right now it's been 11 years. My 12's coming up in October. And, when I got out of Germany, I ended up marrying a German girl. Went through, 10 years, or no, it was 8 years of as being a dry drunk. Ended up ruining that marriage. Had 2 kids with her, but I was just such a person that it was all about me. I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted the very basics. I bring the money home, I pay the bills, and I have a roof over your head, so everything else should be fine. And to me, in my sick alcoholic mind, it was like, oh, well, that's fine. I'm doing the bare minimum. Like, that's great. And in reality, I must have been a horrible person to deal with. I don't think I would have been friends with myself if I met myself at that age or at that time. Went through a 3-year divorce, and because of unfortunate events, the judge ruled in my favor, and then, some events started happening where I wasn't able to see my kids. And for me, that was like the point where I really thought to myself, I got sober for this. I got sober for the family. I got sober for this marriage life. I got sober for that whole thing. If I don't have that anymore, then why am I sober? And it was literally getting to a point where I was on a business trip and I was just thinking to myself, man, there's a cigar shop right there. I'm on some New York pier. It's like 70 degrees out. It's in summer. You don't know when the warm air hits you. There's the alcoholic weather right there. It's just like, man, it would be really great right now. And but I didn't want that cigar to complement that time. I wanted the scotch or the whiskey that was going to go with the cigar. And my mind, my alcoholic part of my mind was just slowly trying to tweak it so that I could just accept the cigar and then just keep moving a little bit closer and closer. And it got to a point where it was like, I don't know what to do from here, but I think I'm going to order those THC gummies, because I think at this point I can call myself an OG, drug user and OG alcohol user, where we didn't have all the flavors and everything that's out today. It was just, it would say just like booze on the bottle or, whatever on the bottle. And, but at that point I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to make sure I give the other side a fair chance. And I remember at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the worst meeting I can find, and I need to be humbled. So I was like, God, just humble me, please. And I ended up finding a meeting in East Hartford. Went there, and I realized very quickly just how privileged I was in my setting and in my life. And I don't think one of those shares was said at a normal speaking volume. I think all of them were pretty much people screaming, their situation and giving an exact countdown of their last drink, and that really woke me up. And I was like, okay, I completely forgot what it was to be an alcoholic. My spirituality kept me sober, but there was nothing at the time in that church of like what we do here. This is what things were like. This is what changed, and this is how things are like now. And so for me, I completely just kept sober, but kept angry, kept bitter, and really allowed alcohol to just continue to have that part, that hold in my life without taking that drink. And that's literally when I went to one of my first meetings, and met Devin, and I'll go into this longer in the end, but basically tricked me into being part of NECYPAA, and it was the best thing that could have ever possibly happened in my life. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for sharing that with us. And maybe we can start off and you could tell us like what NECYPAA is, what it stands for, kind of like what happens at NECYPAA.
Sure. So NECYPAA is the Northeast Conference of Young People in AA. It was originally, and this is the 36th one, it was originally the New England, and they just recently, this year, expanded it to the entire Northeast, so it includes a bunch of new states, including New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Jersey, D.C., and Delaware. But pretty much what it is this year it's going to be a 4-day conference, which is round-the-clock meetings, panels and dances and fun and excitement and sobriety countdowns and all kinds of fun games late at night. And it's basically, I look at it, I was thinking about this a lot lately, and what it is a giant celebration, I think, about recovery. I think is what it is. You will not see any more high energy and passion and enthusiasm for sobriety anywhere else than these kind of events. At least I haven't. And so don't quote me. If there's something that's better, I've yet to see it, and I've been coming around a while. But that's basically what NECYPAA is, and it's basically to serve the Northeast. It is not a part of any service structure. It's not part of Area 11 or any other area service structure or anything. It's independent, a lot like the intergroups are, and basically we run by we are able to fund it by pre-registrations, which we'll probably talk about a bit during this segment. Which we really, if you're planning on going, if you're thinking about going at all, we are looking for people to pre-register, and I'm just doing a little shameless plug about all the information. It is coming to Hartford to the downtown Marriott. December 31st to January 3rd this year, so Thursday through Sunday. As Devin shared in the previous segment, it is going to be a New Year's event, which it used to be, and I think with this committee, what kind of roped me into it, which is unique, is that we're really trying to revive a lot of high energy and enthusiasm for young peoples that I think was on decline, has been on decline probably ever since COVID, maybe before, maybe a little, I don't know. But from my perspective, it's been a little bit on decline. A lot of meetings in general have been on decline, and there's been meetings around in my area that are a shell of what they used to be. And, so that's sort of the energy we're trying to bring back. So I don't know if I answered the question well enough. But.
Thank you very much, Matt. So I have a question. So we talk about round-the-clock meetings. So I know that there are marathon meetings and they take place like on the hour. But can one of you discuss like what panels, like what does that mean? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So hi again, Devin, alcoholic. So like the marathon meetings are like more traditional AA meetings. Panel meetings are, almost like a speaker meeting, but you have like 3 people who kind of like share about a specific kind of like, part of their sobriety or experience or part of the program. And, they can range from super fun and kind of like goofy, like is AA a cult, to really, really serious, like, people's experience having mental illness in the program, right? And like, how do you get help for that separate from, the help that you're getting for your sobriety in AA, and how do you balance those two things? Things as important as that. There's ones for parents, right? Like, young professionals. It's a different experience if I'm just like coming out of college and my drinking's bad and now I have to like go to rehab and then afterwards get sober and kind of put my life together. That's like one experience. And then it's a different experience where if you're like, okay, I've got this career, and if I don't keep doing this job, it's going to like affect like my like sense of like self, but like it's just a different experience. Same thing if you have kids. One of the things I've heard a lot from a lot of people is young people don't get it. Other young people don't get it because they don't have kids, and it's a whole other part. But yeah, that's what panel meetings are. Anything you can think of.
Thank you for that, Devin. Can someone tell us a little bit about registration for the event?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that one.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
That's like right up my alley. I'm like the data guy who set up our like registration system, which is actually like stupidly over the top high tech because I'm a nerd. We're a self-supporting organization, NECYPAA, right? We are right. We're not part of the district area service structure, but we still are self-supporting. We can't like go throw like a dinner, right? Like I said, I work in politics. Part of me would like love to be able to like go throw a dinner and like raise a bunch of money and throw one of these for free, but this is AA, and that's like not what we're here to do. We're here to be self-supporting. There is a cost to putting on the convention, right? Just booking the hotel space is extremely expensive. If you want to bring in any sort of entertainment, magicians, there's like workshops that people bring in, hugs workshops that people love. Everything costs money these days. Do you want to have one of the things we're talking about reviving the way NECYPAA used to be is because of our hotel contract and the way it's set up, we have to sell $10,000 worth of food and beverages. So we're looking at our budget and the number of registrations we're getting because people are pre-registering because they're excited, right? So we're looking at possibly being able to provide coffee for free, which I haven't seen at a convention in a long time. And the reason we're able to do that is because people are pre-registering. And I actually think, some people will think that I'm a little too obsessed with the money. I'm not. We're going to break even at the end, right? That's the goal, right? I've seen some where conventions have returned thousands of dollars to and it's I don't want to do that either. I don't want to lose money, but I don't want to give 10 grand back to somebody that could have gone to a better experience for the people that are coming to my convention. Well, the convention that I'm a part of, our convention. But it's not about the money, right? I want people to pre-register and invest in the experience because paying $50 at the door instead of $30, the day that we announce, or $40 now, at the door doesn't do anything for us, right? It might help us break even, but it's not going to make the convention any better. So, big fan of pre-registering. You can do it at NECYPAACT.com. That's the Northeast Conference of Young People and Alcoholics Anonymous, CT.com.
The website is amazing. I checked it out, and it is pretty insane right now. What our website chair has been able to come up with. The theme right now is escaping the mad realm, which could get pretty nutty, but that's kind of what we like, I guess, is a little bit unhinged, a little bit crazy, but not too crazy, obviously. But yeah, like Devin was saying, pre-registration is really what helps us put it on. Having money today is how we're able to plan it and put it on in December, because like he said, December 31st, the convention's already there. We have nothing really to do with the money, which is really understandable for people who aren't really too invested in it, but they want to go. It's 8 months away right now. It's tough to make plans that far ahead. We do ask people to please just make us your New Year's plan. You're not going to get a better New Year's sober event in Connecticut, I don't think. It's just not going to happen. There's probably going to be over 1,000 people there. It's going to be incredible. And you don't have to be young to go. You can just be, young at heart, or just come and have fun. And there's been talk about people coming who are into the Alcathons and making that one of their stops. We're welcome to everybody in AA. It's not just young people. And it's a whole lot of fun.
And people wouldn't know this, but we've had 183 people register, which is an insane number. So people are excited for this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you mind if I just say real quick, why I joined NECYPAA and what it did for me?
I would love to.
All right, awesome. Like I said in the qualifier, when I came off of a divorce, it was a favorable outcome for me from the law. But things happened where my ex ended up taking the kids over to Germany, and they called parental interference in the first. And for me, my life was YouTube rabbit holes and just at home and poor me and all this stuff. And I wanted the world to recognize that what. And it was all just unhealthy thinking. It was all just things that I was going to use to basically make my situation worse and worse and worse. And for me, as soon as I went to that meeting, and I sat down with Sean, our chair, and Devin, their co-chair, they basically described this life that I really didn't think was possible at my age. I'm 38 years old. Please beep that out. At that time, I didn't experience anything like that. When people would say to me, I'm on this intramural team, and I'm having this much fun, I didn't understand what they were talking about. My weeks now are completely filled, and I have my own business, but that's literally second to me when it comes to everything that's happening with NECYPAA. I'm the uni chair, and I'm trying to basically throw as many events as I can where everyone can just get together and even breathe. And there's really not even time for that. There's just so much going on. There's a chili cook-off coming up this weekend that's in Boston. So it's just an amazing time. You meet a whole bunch of new people everywhere we go. I'm constantly just meeting new faces. I'm constantly probably disappointing people by forgetting their names. As soon as I meet them, and you know, time again, I'm sorry for earlier, it's my bad. And it's Eric, he's got my name, and I'm like, okay, here we go. But it just basically took me, you know, NECYPAA and joining the committee took me out of where I was. I was at the end of my rope. I really didn't see my life going on. My kids at 1 and 3, losing that for me, it was like all they wanted to do was be a father and a husband. And all of those things were taken away from me. And it wasn't what I wanted, but it was my higher power saying to me, you need to understand what's going on in your life right now. And NECYPAA really helped be the glue to hold that together. I mean, even coming here in Wallingford, I used to bring my kids over to the private school. It's up the hill here. Coming into here, I haven't taken this exit in so long. And I used to not be able to do that. I used to have to turn around. I was never able to take this exit. I was never able to come this way. And it's just so funny of like, I'm just driving down here and I'm like at peace with the situation. And that's really because of every single member that's there, everyone that I can call at any time and ask them, you know, any kind of question of sobriety or anything like that. It just really makes it so that me as a person with my issues, I have a sponsor that I can go to, and if my sponsor's not available or my service sponsor's not available, I'm able to talk to, where are we at now, 30, 40 people on the committee. And it's just an amazing thing that really takes me out of my element and made me stop thinking about me. And I'm not the main character anymore. It's we are NECYPAA, and we're really trying to do this for everyone, including the person who's out there, you know, the sick and suffering, who's still having that drink or who still doesn't know the right path to take. We can absolutely help them to get in here. And that's why all the events happen. That's why everything happens. So with that, I'll end my reasons of why I'm coming here. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
I did have some thoughts there because this is kind of revived. I got in, basically I went to the New Year's event they did, and I got kind of sucked back into it. And I've kind of been out of the YPA for a little bit and not really as involved with things. They say in the big book that you'll see a fellowship grow around you. That's what kind of happens in this committee. And I wanted to just kind of plug before we ended it that like we're looking for anybody and everybody who wants to be of service to join the committee or to come and be of service and come to the events. You know, we have the ice cream social coming up this on April 25th at 2 p.m. with what is it called? Speed fellowshipping. Sorry,
yeah, speed fellowship.
Speed fellowshipping, and it should be a lot of fun. We have a music festival coming up next month, which should be a whole lot of fun too. Say yes to service, and you'll see that fellowship grow around you. Now, it's happened to me again in the past in sobriety, and it's happened to me now, just being involved with NECYPAA, and it just puts your recovery into overdrive. I've heard it said, and that's what's kind of happened with me. There's never enough time to do everything. There's always something going on. There's always 100 people that shows up everywhere. There's people at other people's houses, everything. So I'll share.
If we could just take a moment, because we love acronyms in Alcoholics Anonymous, can one of you spell out the website for everybody who's listening to be able to hear and be able to go and check out so they can see all the wonderful things that you guys are doing?
NECYPAACT.com. You can go to the link for our business meeting if you want to join the host committee, and there's links for easily pre-registering as well and other information.
Well, one thing that we do slightly differently, I think this has been part of our success, is basically we have the same rules for membership that AA does, which is not normal. So if you have a desire to stop drinking and you show up and say you're a member of NECYPAA, you are, and we want you there.
Well, I'd like to take a second to thank Devin, Matt, and Eric again for coming here and talking to us about NECYPAA. And we'll end with our responsibility statement. I am responsible when anyone, anywhere, reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA to always be there, and for that, I am responsible.